Welcome back, everybody, to more from the SAbleyes. I'm here today with Blake. How are we doing, Blake?
I'm doing well, thanks, Mitch.
That is good. Let me just, on the fly, adjust some audio volume. There we go. Now I can actually hear you. We're looking at Slowduck today, Blake, and I know that you've been playing a fair bit of this. We're actually on our other account, the one that actually has access to all of these cards, so that we can play it, because you've been testing it out a little bit.
Yeah, this is a funny little deck. Bit of a meme deck before Worlds, and now that we're past Worlds, I think someone uploaded a list they took either to Worlds or to the DC Open and did. I think it was the DC Open, and they actually got like a decent amount of points with this deck. And they dropped their list. This is it, and actually testing half decently considering it's a Slowpoke list.
And hey, for all of the tag teams that we thought were going to be strong out of this particular set, Slowpoke and Psyduck was never the one. But hey, it's got some stuff going for it. Let's talk about it. It's got 250 HP, and for 2 energy, it has the attack Ditch and Splash, which is 40 times the amount of supporter cards that you discard from your hand. That in itself doesn't seem super powerful, but the engine that we've got here in this deck that has been put together for us actually works quite well.
Yeah, thanks to the addition of the new supporter Misty's Favor and the new Lapras, we have a way to not only search out a lot of supporter cards to ditch and splash, but a way to also retrieve Misty's Favors and build up a large hand size full of supporters that we can just toss at our opponents for large damage for a relatively low energy cost.
Yeah, and we've also got the Thrilling Times GX if we want to have a thrilling time and flip a coin to see if we do more than 10 damage. Probably not going to be using that one. The likelihood of us getting 8 water energy onto a Slowpoke Psyduck is pretty slim, but it's worth noting that it's there.
It takes far too much thrilling time for us to get 6 energy.
Yeah,
it's
a bit of a waste.
Be able to use that to any effect whatsoever.
Yeah, but that's okay. Let's have a look at the Lapras that you mentioned before. This is the way that we're going to be trying to bring supporters into our hand to discard them. Mermaid's Call means that we can put a Misty's Favor card from the discard pile back into our hand, which means that we realistically have access to an extra 3 supporters in a turn that we use Mermaid's Call. And if we have multiple Lapras in play and multiple Misty's Favor in the discard pile, we can potentially get up to 4 Misties back with Lapras, use one of them to find 3 more supporters, and then discard 6 supporters, which is pretty strong.
Yep, and that's just by default. Once you've got the Lapras engine set up, you can... I mean, obviously, as you're playing the game, you're not always going to be playing Misty. Sometimes you need to draw energies and ways to search out more Pokemon, so you're going to be playing cards like Coach Trainer, which we play a few of, and also other cards to help find us some like custom catchers like Bills, other such utility supporters, and we'll build up a large hand full of other supporters. And we can even play multiples of them at a time with Lieutenant Surge, because it takes a while to build up the hands to get it to start attacking effectively, and you tend to fall behind when that happens.
Yeah, and one of the ways we're going to try and set ourselves up is we're going to try and use the consistency of Jirachi. We only have 2 copies of this particular card in this list, but 2 is more than enough. If we've got one in the active, we can use it to try and find Misties if we need to, or even other supporters to try and set our hand up. And if we start with it, if we're lucky enough to, we don't mind if it gets knocked out, because like you said, it opens up Lieutenant Surge plays for us as well. So Stellar Wish is going to be a nice consistency for us.
Yeah, it's sort of just a little bonus for us if we get any use out of Jirachi. Otherwise, the deck is built to work without it. It just doesn't mind the boost that Jirachi gives it.
Oh hey, Jirachi's free, mate. You can take as many of them as you want. We also have 1 copy of Evil Admonition Hooper in the list. This is obviously a pretty strong attacker in the Malamar matchup, which I can imagine might be a little bit awkward if your opponent sets up well. So we give ourselves a bit of an out to that just in case, and it's a perfectly acceptable 1 energy attacker just to stick down in a matchup and do a little bit of damage to help your Ditch and Splash get a little closer to that knockout that you need.
Yeah, Malamar's probably going to be hardest and the hardest matchup. That's the most popular outside of maybe Perfection. Otherwise, yeah, the Hooper's really good at dealing with that deck. And also, What's cute in this deck is because you use water energy, you get a fair use out of Hooper because you can actually heal it with the Alana supporter card and make it tank more than one hit.
Yeah, so we've got potential
to get some more mileage.
Potential to get those extra couple of turns out of Hooper, which would be really strong. We also play 3 copies of Dragonite. We have 2 Fast Call Dragonite in order to search our deck for a supporter, and we have 1 Hurricane Charge Dragonite that we can use to attach an extra water energy from our hand to our Pokemon in any way that we'd like. These cards obviously don't have the basics Dratini and Dragonair to go along with them, but with Lance Prism Star we can set ourselves up to put these Dragonites onto the bench. Fast Call means we can search out supporters, which is obviously what we need, and our other Dragonite means we can set up a Slowduck out of nowhere if we have to.
Yeah, if you've pretty much just been taken surprised by maybe like a Double Blaze like turn 2, it's very unlikely that you've got an extra energy attachment floating around on a Slowduck. You've probably had it knocked out after just 2 turns, which means you're going to need to be able to attach more than 1 energy to it in a turn, and the Lancer will allow us to do that if we have the Dragonite accessible and the energy in hand, and then we can use Hurricane Charge and a manual attachment and we'll start swinging all over again.
Yeah, exactly. Let's look at the supporters now, and that's actually like the main part of our deck here. Obviously, we need as many supporters as possible to get our Slowduck attacking, and we're going to start off with Misty's favour with this particular list. Since this is the main way we're going to be finding supporters, we can search our deck for 3 supporter cards and put them into our hand, and that's any 3 supporter cards, so we can get ones that are good in our situation or ones that we don't care about discarding. And since we can get them back with Lapras, we can chuck as many Misties into the bin as we like. We're going to be able to get them back later.
Yeah, and we can even get more Misty's favour if we just want to, set up the cycle of Misties in our hands.
Yes, exactly. We also play 4 copies of Steven's Resolve, which is going to allow us to search for 3 cards and put them into our hand in the early game. This means that if we are stuck with not a lot going on, we can just play this card and find 3 of any card we like. We'll probably be looking for things like Misties or maybe Slowduck or Energy if we need to find them. Steven's Resolve is good to set these kind of decks up because it can just grab anything that we want.
Yeah, Stevens is it's a fantastic turn 1 option for us. We can't really attack on the first turn because we require 2 attachments, so we don't really miss out by ending our turn here. We can enable ourselves with more energy attachments and the basics we need, and maybe a Misty's for the next turn, stuff like that. But what it's also great at is in the late game, you could perhaps stamp your opponent to a low hand size. And if they've not got too much going on board, you can Steven's Resolve for the cards you need to close out the game, and there's a good chance that because they've been stamped to a low hand size, they're not going to be able to deal with the cards you have in hand, and not be able to alter your hand either.
Yeah, so it could potentially set you up to win. We've got a ton of supporters, so we'll just run through them pretty quickly. We've got 3 copies of Pokemon Fan Club to search out basic Pokemon. Every Pokemon in our deck, apart from Dragonite, is a basic, so we can just grab them with Fan Club. Things like Lapras are easily searchable, and it essentially means that Fan Club can become 2 Misty's favour if everything is working out well for you, so that's pretty strong.
Yeah, it's without running too many Pokemon in a deck, Pokemon communication isn't the greatest, so we need a way to reliably get out those Laprases, and Fan Club is our way to do that.
Certainly is. We've got 2 copies of Lusamine to bring supporters and stadium cards potentially back from the discard pile, and because we're playing Lieutenant Surge, we can get ourselves into positions where we can play Surge, Lusamine, bring stuff back into our hand, and get ready for our next turn. So that's a very strong supporter, especially when we want to have supporters in our hand in order to do lots of damage.
Yeah, Lusamine is exceptionally strong in this deck, because if you click off of Lusamine for a second, you'll see we've got 2 one-off supporters, which we can recur with Lusamine, which will help us swing any matchup. Lysander Labs is great against any deck that relies on tools. Malamar, for example, in combination with the Hooper, recurring Lysander Labs is extremely strong and can often swing the matchup on its own. And against Mew Mew, you can recycle Power Plant an infinite amount of times, so that you'll eventually just make it so they're not able to attack, and then all you have to do is kill the Pokemon that can actually declare attacks without abilities. So, exceptional uses for Lizmin there, and also allows us to recur our one-off supporters that are really influential, like Bills and Lana.
Yeah, we'll talk about Lana now. Lana's really, really cool and really strong in this particular list. We're healing 50 damage from each Pokemon that has water energy attached to it. Might not seem like that much, but if your opponent has been chipping away at these Slowpoke Psyduck, 50 damage coming off of that is going to be quite significant, especially when we're playing that in combination with things like Great Potion, which we also run 3 copies of. We could potentially heal a Slowpoke Psyduck from close to being knocked out to almost at full health. So we've got a potential to really slow our opponent down by using that particular supporter. Lana very strong in this list, and probably only this list. I don't think I've ever seen it in any other deck before.
No, not really. It's a real niche use, but it's exceptional at swinging Malamar when all they're doing is 2-hitting you with Giratinas. All it needs to be is 50 damage, and suddenly they're not 2-hitting you with Shadow Impact anymore.
Yeah, super, super strong. We mentioned the Lance already. We've got 1 copy of that. We mentioned Lieutenant Surge already. We've got 3 copies of that in order to give ourselves some big supporter playing turns. We'll finish off the supporter line here. We've got 1 Bill's Analysis, which you mentioned before can potentially turn into 2 more supporters, or maybe even find ourselves things like those stadiums or Custom Catcher. We have 1 Erica's Hospitality. It's going to draw us a ton of cards in certain situations, hopefully get us into enough supporters to attack. And we've got 3 Coach Trainer. Coach Trainer is going to draw us 4 cards most of the time, since Slowpoke and Psyduck will be in the active. 4 cards on top of our hand is probably going to do the job, find the extra supporters we need to take knockouts.
Yeah, I still remember reading the article on this deck, or the post on Facebook rather. The Erica's is specifically for post stamp. So on a turn where you get stamped, you can Misties for Erica and get yourself out of a pinch over the course of 2 turns, rather than dead drawing for multiples, which might be what your opponent's counting on to win. Or if you're lucky enough to also draw a Surge off of your top decks off of stamp, you can also do that in cohesion with Misty's Favor to play the Ericas and draw yourself out of that low hand size and keep playing the game.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very strong. Moving into the items, we've got a very, very low ball search count. It's probably the lowest that I've seen in a competitive deck for a long time. We've got 2 copies of Cherish Ball. 1 is pretty much all we're going to need to find our Slowpoke and Psyduck. And we also have 1 copy of Pokemon Communication. We aren't running a huge amount of Pokemon, but on the turns that we need to find specific things, maybe we want to find a Hooper, maybe we want to find an extra Lapras, Pokemon Communication could come in clutch for us.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that the reason these one-offs are acceptable is because we play 4 Steven's Resolve, and it's likely that these are the cards we're going to want to search off of a Steven's Resolve that we play in the early game. And if that's not our supporter of choice, or we have a bit more freedom, then we can always fan club, which makes those previous 2 cards sort of irrelevant.
Yeah, they're a bit redundant. We don't need them necessarily if we are able to find the stuff that we want. We also play 4 copies of Custom Catcher in order to gust whatever targets we want. Particularly powerful when we're playing against things like Reshizard. If we want to win that game, we're probably going to need to take out 2 Reshizards. We don't want to have to kill a Volcanion and potentially give our opponent a chance to win the game. So Custom Catcher is going to be pretty strong there, but I don't think we need to talk about that much more. We've mentioned Great Potion already. We've got 1 Energy Spinner, which is going to be able to find ourselves energy in the early game. Again, we can Stevens for this early and grab ourselves 3 basic energy if it comes off of a Jirachi as well, so that's pretty strong. But in this deck, even the effect of just 1 is really good, and yeah, like you mentioned, we could get it potentially off of the Bills as well. Find 3 energy cards. We round off the deck. We've got 1 reset stamp in order to stuff our opponent over. Once they've taken a knockout, they're down to 3 prizes. We can stamp them into 3, and we've got 2 copies of Switch just in case something like a Lapras or a Jirachi gets stuck in the active and we want to remove it.
Yeah, pretty conventional. The stamp is, well, it's in everything. It's really good. Once one knockout gets taken, stamp is effective. Slam that down straight away. Hopefully our opponent bricks, and it's pretty conventional way any list running Jirachi.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll chuck this up onto the old ladder, and we'll see what we can do. Hopefully it works for us. We played a test game, Blake, and it seemed to work okay.
Yeah, I absolutely destroyed a Malamar Giratina earlier on, the tag team, and yeah, got some catches on early Malamars while they were struggling to set up, and forced to use that Sableye that came out of Worlds that people are using to search cards. But yeah, I think thanks to just the unique way the deck is built, you can have a chance against pretty much any matchup once you get going.
Yeah, I'm going to need a little bit of help here, I reckon. Oh god, that's a terrible start. A little bit of help here to get started. We've got Steven's Resolve in this hand. It depends what we're playing against here. But I did see Metal and Psychic, so I wouldn't be surprised to see us playing against something like a Malamar deck. And I guess we're just going to have to Steven's Resolve here. There's not much more that we can realistically do.
Yep, Steven's is great on the first turn.
Probably going to grab...
So we get ourselves a Cherish Ball.
Cherish Ball, I don't know what else we want to grab. What can we get? What do you reckon we get?
So, we need an attachment.
We do need an attachment.
We need a better supporter for next turn. We already have a switch in hand, so I would grab a Water Energy. We don't need to waste the spinner. It could come up later in the game.
Fair enough.
So we'll just grab the actual water. And then we'll just grab ourselves a Coach Trainer, I think.
No worries. That seems fine.
We'll be attacking next turn no matter what because of, well, unless we choose to use Evil Admonition, which may come in handy here.
It might, you never know.
Otherwise, it might take us 2 turns to get ready here.
And that's okay. Malamar, if we are playing against it, is a typically slow deck, so we shouldn't have any problems getting ourselves ready. The fact that the Hooper is in the field of play already is pretty strong.
We're not really worried about having to race against Malamar. We're both pretty slow here.
Your voice just changed into a very strange mic there, Blake. Something horrible has happened on your end. I don't know whether you can hear me anymore. Technical difficulties.
It's okay. No, my headphones are on the way out, and sometimes they just randomly cut out and stop working for a bit, and it took me a while. I could see that you were talking, and I just couldn't hear anything. Just took a second to click, so I just had to quickly unplug them and plug them back in. But
no
we're good to go.
It's all fine. Nobody panic. All right, so we are playing against Malamar here. We are playing against Malamar. Hopefully they stick a Giratina in the active and we can just take a knockout. That would be swell. I don't think it's going to happen. But...
There's a Viridian, so we're not going to want 4 energy attachments this game because our opponent's just going to offer them up to us.
Yep, they're free. Nice. You can have them. Alright, now we just have to wait. That's the fun of Malamar. We just have to wait for them to finish their turn.
Wait for them to flop around and miss NKs and relevant attachments.
Oh, give me an NK! Oh, mysterious treasure, here we go. Oh, cool. While asleep, Pokemon can't attack. Did you know that, Blake?
I did not.
Well, we've learned something.
Yep.
We're not particularly strong Pokemon players on this channel, so any hints we can get are great. Much appreciated. There goes the Giratina into the bin. Using lots of mysterious treasures here.
Yep,
use 2 of them.
Might make it a bit harder to get those Malamars out.
Choosing not to use the Giratina this turn, that's fine. We're going to grab ourselves Slowpoke Psyduck. We'll attach an energy. We'll switch into Slowpoke Psyduck, and then we'll Coach Trainer. Seems fine.
Yep.
Alright.
Beautiful. Got some supporters for next turn. We've got plenty enough to do damage, and we can fan club next turn. So
that's gonna thin an energy out here. We'll just grab another one.
I will say, do be careful with how much you thin energy because there's not that many, and I actually have run out of energy before playing this deck. Surprisingly, as that may seem.
Well, we've still got plenty left. There's what was it, 4 or 5? Oh my god! When a Pokemon evolves, unbelievable. So we should be okay. We'll see what happens here. The good thing is that with Misty's favourite in our hand, we are not going to be short on supporters, so Worst comes to worst, we can play it, find 3 more supporters and discard them with our Slowpoke and Psyduck, ready to do a bit more damage.
Yeah, we've also got a great potion to help tank a hit that may come in this turn if that comes up.
Yes, that's true.
It's all about whether our opponent has all the left. If they have the double psychic in the bin, an attachment, and a way to get out of the active, then we'll have to deal with that.
Well, that's okay. We could potentially find ourselves another way to retreat and just take a knockout with a Hooper if everything goes well. But worst case scenario, we'll just hang on to the great potion. We should be fine.
Yep, I think yeah, what'll be good here is we can great potion if we get hit, and we can just attach, and then I think we might just Bill's analysis and go hunting for that second custom catcher and start taking down these Malamars. Cause
yeah, that's pretty strong.
I'll give you a hint, we're not going to beat this thing in the long run.
No.
If we don't take out these Malamars.
So we've got to remove their ability to attach energy, and then we can start taking out some Giratinas. Obviously, this Giratina has a spell tag on it, so our Hooper being in play is a bit of a pain, but that's okay.
Gonna have to wait until we get Lysander Labs into play before we can start dealing with these bad boys.
Yes, that's alright. Well, great potion here. Oh, we're going to put the damage on the bench. Sounds good to me.
It's a good thought. Makes it a bit harder for us to hit that. We don't really care about that Esper, so...
Let's use this Bills. We'll use this Bills and see what we can get. Oh, there's a custom catcher. That seems pretty strong.
We can just grab... No, that's supporter, maybe a loser man, I think.
Yeah, that seems
we have
fine.
That, yet.
That seems fine. We can grab that. Excellent. Means that we can attach an energy to a Slowpoke Psyduck. We can heal some damage off of that particular Pokemon, and then we can gust up the Malamar that doesn't have the spell tag. Alright, now how many things do we need to discard? 3, right?
3. So we'll go Misties, and then we'll go Surge, and then perhaps what do we list? Probably gonna need to play Erica's next turn. I think. Yeah,
we'll probably get rid of the fan club. That's fair. Get rid of those 3, and there goes a Malamar. Hopefully, we can put ourselves in a situation where our opponent doesn't have enough Malamar to continue the game, and that Lapras is a pretty strong card to pick up there. We want to have as many of these Lapras in play as we can. I'd really like another Slowpoke as well, if possible, just so we can start attaching to it.
Nice to start attaching. Yeah, start attaching to a new Slowduck.
Grabbing.
But if all else fails, we can attach to the Hooper. Will always come in handy later down the track.
That is true.
I guess a 3rd spell tag.
Yeah, so they're not worried about using them, and potentially if we can get ourselves into a Lysander Labs here, we could really cripple our opponent's board state a bit. If they aren't able to find the Inkay, then we could be in a positive position. But there's the Inkay, so it doesn't matter. Ignore everything that I was just saying.
That's alright. I still think we're probably going to go into the... I'm kind of glad they benched out in the end, because Erica's is going to be our supporter next turn, and
certainly is.
That's going to come up just dandy.
More than happy to play it. I'm going to spread some damage around. We'll play down this Lapras, and then Erica's for 5 or 6. Sorry, 6 cards. And look at that. There's a Lysander Labs. How good is that? And we also have a Cherish Ball that we can use to grab ourselves another Slowpoke. We can start attaching to. Excellent.
Unfortunately, we've drawn into both the fast call Dragonites, which means that using Lance in the future will prove difficult. And I think you made a huge mistake just then.
Why's that?
Oh, I feel like... actually, no, it's not huge. We could have... I kind of wanted to potentially use the Hooper that turn and hold off them being able to take a large amount of prize cards, but that's alright. We can just... I think we'll use Viridian now and ditch one of the Dragonites.
Sure.
Just to hold on to an attachment for next turn, because we're going to replace the stadium and we want to make sure we've got one next turn.
And then we're going to ditch and splash.
Ditch and splash.
We're going to get rid of the Misty. We're probably going to get rid of the Steven.
I think we're going to get rid of the Lance.
Yeah.
And then we're just going to hold on to the Coach Trainer here.
And get rid of the Lucimin as well. We need to do 4.
Yep.
There we go. Goodbye, supporters. take a knockout. They'll be able to take a knockout themselves this turn, but that's fine. We can return and we'll be fine. Everything is fine.
Yep, we're just going to need to draw ourselves into some more Misties so we can start using them instead of our nice supporters. That's okay.
I wonder why they're saying
I
well played.
Curious.
That's okay. I'm sure it'll all be fine.
Here's where the Lucimin would have been particularly strong.
Yeah.
Because now they're gonna bump our Lysander Labs. But that's alright. We're gonna need to. I think we might go into, if they go into the new Giratina without a spell tag, it might be nice just to use the Hooper because it's already got
the damage on it.
Doesn't really matter at this point.
No, it should be fine, and we've got the attachments to attack with both Hooper and our Slowpoke and Psyduck. But obviously we need to find some more supporters, and since we haven't been able to get Misties into the bin, Lapras isn't really doing anything for us at the moment. We need to find a couple more of them. That's okay. Should be fine.
I think actually next turn it might be the case where we need to just use Misties to find our other Misties so that we can get that chain going rather than spend through our other supporters.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. So we'll put the Hooper into the active here, and then grab a Misty, use it to grab more Misty, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Grabbing a prize, come on, here we go. It's all even here, but we should theoretically be okay. Got a Jirachi there as well.
Nice pick up here.
You can pop that one down onto the bench potentially, but I think we'll just play this Misty's now, grab ourselves some more cards. Grab Misty's Favour, we might grab a couple of them. Possibly. What are the chances of them going ahead next turn? Pretty high. We could even grab ourselves a Surge if we want.
I think that's a good call, and perhaps even because we're going to have access to Surge next turn, we should probably grab a Lusamine as well, I reckon.
Yeah, I think that's pretty...
That way we can get that Lysander Labs back in play.
Pretty strong, pretty strong. The question is, do we want to put the Jirachi down or not? I don't think we really lose anything by doing it, but... Yeah, like you said, we could potentially find ourselves in a bad situation.
And we're not holding a switch.
Yeah, I'm not gonna grab the Misty right now because if we get stamped, I want to at least have access to it in the bench. In the discard. The only question is, do we discard the Dragonite off of the Viridian? I think we do because we realistically won't ever use it, and we may as well thin it out. So that seems fine, and then pew pew. We are cooking with gas. Look at this. This is Pokemon cards, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pokemon cards at the highest quality. The best Pokemon card players in the world. Oh, I should probably slow down with those massive compliments to myself.
Yeah. just me.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably should, yeah.
Here's another Giratina to the bin.
That's okay.
Our opponent's still needing to use Viridian every turn to get their attachments. So if we can actually break this Viridian chain and hit him up with a stamp in the coming turns, then that could be pretty strong as well.
That could be
Maybe
super
they'll be
strong.
Able to miss they could potentially miss an attack.
But the problem for us here is that we do need to make sure that we find a great potion or healing of some kind as well. But there's their last spell tag, so we should be sitting pretty here. They're about to take a prize. We're gonna surge into Lusamine, into Misty's Favour potentially, find as many cards as we want, and set ourselves up for later. And
They've fallen right into our trap.
We can get rid of their spell tag damage, which seems pretty good. So here we go.
Yep, this is going to be a rather strong turn for us as long as we don't butcher it.
Oh, Lana.
Lana's good. That'll be good in the future. It means we don't have to search for it now.
Okay.
We'll start with the Surge.
So
let's do that first.
Yep, bang, there's the Surge. Yeah, if we accidentally play another supporter first. Yes, we're going to lose him in. We're going to grab ourselves the Lysander Labs and one of these Lusamines here. Ooh, beautiful.
Because otherwise we'll lose access to the loop forever if we don't grab the second one.
We'll lose the loop. Oh, jeez, I'm so funny.
No.
Yes, again, don't do that. I'm thinking we just play Misty here, and put ourselves in a position where we don't ever run out of supporters. We've got the Lana in hand. We can just wait until last.
I would like to grab Stamp this turn, so I feel like a Coach Trainer would be pretty good too.
Coach Trainer's pretty good, do you reckon? I'm gonna Viridian away this Jirachi. Just to thin it out.
We've already got most of our supporters in our deck, and there's pretty much only good stuff left. We've got other supporters, Reset Stamp, and our healing cards, so I feel like there's only good stuff to draw off of this Coach Trainer at this point.
I'll trust you. Okay, that seems fine. Custom. That seems fine. We can save that
take out
double custom if we want, or we can take out a Malamar. I think we probably want to take out this Giratina with the spell tag first.
Yeah,
since we've got the last now.
We'll use it while we've got it.
And we'll chuck this Lapras down. And that means that we can discard 3 Misties, sorry, and probably a Steven, and take the knockout.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
It's a shame we missed the Stamp that turn. That would have been really strong.
It would have been, but that's okay. It's okay. We just need to take 2 knockouts. We've got Lana and Custom Catcher in hand, so if they aren't able to switch, or if we remain with our hand intact, we are going to be able to heal some damage here. The fact that they are looking like they might power up that Necrozma, though, is a bit frightening. It means that they'll be within range of the 2-shot if we don't find ourselves a Great Potion this turn. That's okay.
Yep.
It's a risk that we're just going to need to take. There's another Necrozma going back. They're going to grab another Jirachi. Well, they're just thinning here, looks like it.
Looks like they're thinning cards. Might have a Lily as their only supporter. Looks like they're still grabbing off of that though, which is peculiar. That did nothing.
That's alright, they're just thinning cards. They don't want to be stuck with a terrible set of cards in their hand. You're going to be able to attack with the Necrozma here. Alright. Let's see how we go.
Let's see, 180. If we heal 50, we're on 130. So yeah, we do need the Great Potion.
We do. So that could be awkward. But we're a chance. We've got a chance.
We're a sneaky chance.
We certainly are a sneaky chance. Oh boy, it's gonna be tough though. Like we could miss it by a turn. It's gonna be tight.
I mean, yep. I mean, we've got a lot of good top decks. We've got a lot of healing in the deck still, and we do have other supporters to draw into the healing.
Okay, well that's not going to do the job for us.
No, certainly not.
So I think instead what we might need to do is we might need to just play out our hand and try and thin down to a position where we can custom catcher for cards. The question is, are we going to be able to realistically do that?
It seems unlikely. I would like to check their discard.
Sure. What are we looking for?
I want to see how many switches they've used.
So it's just 3.
3 switches. I feel like we could strand a Malamar in the active position this turn.
You reckon? Let's
I believe so.
Let's go for it. We will use.
And,
we might even just use Steven's Resolve and presume we're not going to get knocked out here.
I think that's a good call.
I'm just going to put down these bad boys just in case. I'll attach that one there, and then we'll Steven's Resolve. So now we're just going to grab Great Potions and Stamp, I guess. Let's see.
Yep, I think that's fine.
That seems like a perfectly acceptable turn. Hopefully, they can't get out of the active, and we're able to heal up. And if we can, then we could potentially get ourselves in a position to win the game in a turn and a bit. Necrozma on the bench is quite frightening, but we're going to be able to heal 150 damage from the Slowpoke and Psyduck if they cannot retreat.
Promising start. They wouldn't have attached there if they had the switch in my mind. So it looks like we might have spoiled ourselves a turn here.
Potentially. We'll see. They might have another
Unless our opponent
stadium.
is low rolling us.
Well, they very well might be. But that's okay. The fact that we're in kind of a not so great matchup. Oh, here we go. Look at this, Blake. Look at this. Heal. Let's do it.
I feel like we hold the other great potion. Wait,
Oh,
no,
right.
maybe
I'm playing it. Get out of here. Doesn't matter. Stamp.
Start, mate.
We're going to play
Excellent.
all of our mermaids' calls. Here we go. Get them all back.
A 1, a 2,
Or 2.
and you know what to do.
A 3. And
then all
oh,
that's
concession.
Oh, there we go!
We did it,
Excellent.
boys.
They must have drawn very well off of that stamped 2.
There you go.
All that they could have done was swing in with the Necrozma and then full prey to another Ditch and Splash. Pretty strong
that
showing
feels-
here for
that
the
feels-
Slowpoke.
Yeah, that feels pretty good. Let's gotta wait for the little verses to get finished before we can put the list back up. It's a pretty fun one, Blake. I don't know whether I'd take it to a regional level tournament, but it is super fun to play.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun deck. I wouldn't say it's a meme, because, I mean, it can obviously go the distance, but it's not exactly a reliable deck, I would say.
Yeah, that's probably the key, is the fact that I probably wouldn't back it in to beat all of the other things that you'll see at a big tournament, but hey, if you're expecting to see lots of Reshizard, then this could be the deck for you. Thanks, Blake, for coming along and sharing this one with us.
No worries.
And thank you, everyone, for watching. If you like the content, then consider subscribing by clicking the SAbleyes in the middle of the screen. On the left-hand side, we have some videos that YouTube thinks that you will like, and on the right, we have our playlist for Unified Minds. Consider subscribing. We're like 60 subscribers away from 1,000, which is the arbitrary goal that we've set ourselves. We don't normally beg for subscriptions, but give it a subscribe. Yeah, do your best,
Please.
But just do your best. Make 2 or 3 lonely boys happy. That'd be great. And we'll see you all next time for more from the SAbleyes. Bye.
Bye.